We're going to go over how to add a war now. You'll see that I'm back on the other account. I'm in Unreal Dedicated with not Dr. Robinson. The first thing I'm going to do once I've added all my members, which you can see through the member management here, is that I can add a war. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on Add War. There's a couple of big changes that we've made from the previous iterations. The most important ones are that we found that some people only want to use certain parts of ClanWar Tracker. And so we don't want to limit you and force you to do certain things that you don't want to. For example, many clans only want to use the calling aspect. And if that's the case, we gave you the option to do that. So we're going to create a war here, and I'm going to keep it small. So the opposing clan name is clan number 27. The war message is 3-star attacks. And so we're going to say it's in progress, okay? And the reason for that is we want to be able to show you how we can do some war calling. So we've got 23 hours and 15 minutes left. So let's talk about call time. Call time is important because this is how much time you have to take your attack after you call it. What this means is that if I was to call an attack right as soon as the war started, so 24 hours left in the war, I would have this amount of time to take it before somebody else could call it. So I could say 6 hours, which would mean that with 18 hours left in the war, somebody else would be able to say, okay, Zach didn't take his attack. I'm now going to call it and take my attack. So it prevents people from kind of holding on to a base for too long. We really like these half remaining amounts, right? So, or third remaining amount. And the reason for that is, if I do a half remaining, that means with 24 hours left in a war, I will have 12 hours to get my attack in. Now, if there's only 10 hours left in the war, I will have 5 hours to get my attack in. The reason we like this is because it changes depending on how much time's left in the war. So if there's only an hour left, you only have a half an hour to get your attack in before somebody else can call it. So it kind of prevents people from waiting to the very last second to get it in, and it also makes it impossible for them to do that, right? If there's 5 minutes left, you only have 2.5 minutes to get your attack in before somebody else could call it. So these are really good ways to start it off, and you can always change it partway through if you wanted to. So halfway through the war, you could change your call time values. Another thing that's important is the data input only. So if you're not using the war calling function, so if you want to record, say, a previous war or data that you're taking from a different site, maybe use a spreadsheet, you could just do data input only, and that's going to take you right to the input data part where you can just say, you know, these 30 people were in the war. These people took these attacks and got X amount of stars and got these defenses. And so you can track it to create war scores, but you're not going to be able to use it for a calling function because the war's already completed, right? So this is a really nice way of using the app instead of a spreadsheet, making it a little bit prettier. Now these requirements are actually really nice. So if you turn off the enemy town hall required or the reward required, you're just basically using it as a call function. And the reason that's nice is, let's say you just want your members to go in, call a target, and say I got 3 stars off the attack. They're not required to input any of the bounty information that you're going to see, and they're not required to put in the enemy input town hall. And what happens here is it usually falls on your administrators or your editors to collect all this data and put it in. So if you have a good core group of guys that are running the editorial portion of this, they can go in and they can input all this data once it starts and take that burden off of every clan member. Many clans choose not to do that. Many of them require this. So say you have a 50-person clan, it's a lot of data for 1 or 2 people to input. And so we're kind of crowdsourcing it. We're saying we want every player to input a little bit of data, so that way at the very end, when we go to calculate our war when it's finished, we don't have to put it all in ourselves. We've already got a bunch of this from our clan members. Now if it's a small clan, say 10 people, you might not need that. And then call stacking and multiple calls, they're self-explanatory. Call stacking means that I can call a target, and then Bob can call the same target after my attack, and then Frank can call after him. So you can have multiple people queued up to do it. Some people don't like this because it's assuming that you're going to fail and not get a 3-star. So the person behind the next person up, so say if I'm up to attack a town hall, the person behind me might already be building an army to attack after me. And then if I 3-star it, they've got an army that they have to dump or repurpose in some way, which isn't ideal. And then multiple calls would mean I can call multiple targets at a time. So I can say I'm going to call number 2 and number 3, and I'm going to get both my attacks in. You can understand why this would be hard because you can't actually have 2 armies for 2 different ones at the same time, and so not everybody would be able to attack. Now, if you were a clan that says we want our bottom 10 people to get all their attacks in, that would allow you to call the lowest person and then stack a call on the second lowest if you wanted to. So we don't like those in our clan, so we leave them off. But we can go ahead and submit this and start our war. All right, so the first thing you're going to notice is that you have to order your participants. Participant ordering is a thing that we're constantly working on and evaluating. Right now, it grabs an average of their ranks. So let's say that Jose was ranked number 1 for the last war, Kevin number 2 in this order. For the next war, it's going to put them in the same order as they were for the previous one. This can be nice. It can also be frustrating. In this case, we're going to order everybody by Town Hall. And you can click and drag people where you want them. So Shaq is Town Hall 10. Not Doc. I'm actually better than Jose, obviously. Ramona is 7. On Dr. Robinson's actually worse than Jose. And for a big clan, say somebody like not Dr. Robinson wasn't in this war, I could just drop him from the war here, and it's going to bump everybody up 1, okay? You can also type in, if I wanted not Dr. Robinson to be number 1, he jumps up to the top, pushes everybody down, and we can also use the arrows to move people up and down 1 if we wanted to. In this case, I'm just going to drag Shaq back up. And you can also switch, so say Dr. Robinson moved up 1, I could select Dr. Robinson, and him and Jose are going to switch here. If I found that I actually want to have 10 members in this war, because it's a 10-man and not everybody signed up, I can always add a clan member or 2, right? So I can add Julie, who's a Town Hall 8, and Randy Marsh, who's a Town Hall 11. Right, and obviously we know Town Hall 11 doesn't exist, so we actually probably want to fix that to 10 before we get an error, which we will. So we fix that to 10, and we're going to move Randy Marsh up to the top, because if anybody knows anything about Randy Marsh, he's the best. And Julie and Kevin are actually in the wrong spots, so we swap those 2. All right, how's this looking? It's looking like a mess, so let's clean them up here, get them all in order. Let's see if I have enough people. I actually only have 8 people. Which is fine. I'm just going to actually drop this back down to a 5-man war. And then I'm going to begin the war. And what you'll see right away is this tracker progress at the top actually changes, right? So now we're in battle day. If I had said that the war hadn't started, we'd be war prep. This would be yellow. But now we've got battle day. And you can see over to the left here, we've got war against clan number 27. We've got 23 hours and 12 minutes till it ends. And we've got some inputs here. So as an editor, I could go in and input data here. But you can see right now we've got 5 opponents that we can attack, and we can start calling for them. Now, if you made a mistake during the war adding, you can click this little wrench over to the corner here, and that'll take you back to your settings. And we can go in and change any one of the settings that we want to do. Go ahead and update those. We can also do participants. But we really want to actually go into the war right now and go to one of your different settings here. We're going to go to the war room over on the left here, so that way we don't have to change those settings. Now, if you're a member, you won't have the option to update the settings. Editors and admin will have the option to update the settings. But I'm going to go back to the war room, and we're going to talk about calling.